The system hums to life, greeting the Majesty as it begins a deep-dive inspection of the history record database. Data streams flow like a river as the Eye in the Sky combined relic database initiates its massive loading sequence. Seo Ju-hyun, the Majesty himself, doesn't hide his annoyance at being dragged into this tedious bureaucratic nightmare. The system explains that the Akashic records require a mandatory check, forcing the god relic of wisdom, Thoth, to sigh at the sheer hassle of it all. The records tick back to 2025, when tombs first started tearing open across the globe. Ju-hyun isn't having it, openly calling this Majesty abuse. Seriously, do they even know what trauma is? The system outlines the grim reality. Tombs are deadly dungeons where relics dwell, guarded by traps designed to test the resolve of any scavenger. Relics are described as powerful, mysterious artifacts born from the echoes of myths, legends, and the world's most legendary figures. The sudden emergence of these artifacts split humanity down the middle, the powerless, ordinary people, and the empowered relic users. Predictably, the greed of the few took over, as a handful of monopolizers hoarded the relics, leaving the masses to suffer in the dust. The records highlight Ju-hyun's past life. A man with talent but zero capital, doomed to stagnate while the elite grew stronger. The world was already locked in an iron grip, with the monopolizers pulling all the strings. With no other options, Ju-hyun was forced to sell his skills to the ruthless tycoon, Kwon Tae-jun. A brutal disease known as relic syndrome began ravaging the population, requiring a rare relic to cure, a relic held exclusively by the elite. Kwon Tae-jun weaponized that cure, using it as leverage to keep his subordinates chained to his whims. Ju-hyun and his team were forced into the shadows, running smuggling operations and dangerous tomb raids just to survive under a tyrant. The reward for his loyalty? Total betrayal. Tae-jun threw him into the hellish Great Prison, leaving Ju-hyun to watch his friends die one by one. Just as the Reaper came for him, the timeline bent and a miracle occurred. The three-legged crow, an ancient and powerful relic trapped within the prison, unleashed its dormant potential to save him. Empowered by the crow, Ju-hyun's consciousness was sent hurtling back 15 years to the very dawn of the Tomb Era. January 1, 2025, the day the world changed forever. Armed with the memories of a dead future, he regained a second chance at life. The system asks, any errors in the record so far? Ju-hyun admits it's accurate, though the level of detail is frankly chilling. In his second life, he didn't waste a second, immediately pivoting to secure as many early-stage relics as he could get his hands on. He played the long game, using his knowledge of future events to outmaneuver everyone else on the board. He became a one-man wrecking crew, snatching relics and reuniting with his old allies before fate could take them from him again. By keeping his future rivals in check, he effectively steered the entire world onto a completely new, unpredictable path. The tyrants who were supposed to rule the world found their power stunted before they could even rise. Even his bitter enemies from the previous timeline found themselves forming unexpected bonds of love and loyalty in this one. The Grave Company rose to prominence, shifting the balance of power away from the monopolizers and into Ju-hyun's hands. Yet one final obstacle remained: the international powerhouse known as Pandora. Pandora was the puppet master, the organization that kept the world locked in a rigid hierarchy to ensure only the elite could wield true power. As the clash between them intensified, Ju-hyun finally peeled back the curtain to reveal their true nature. The leadership of Pandora wasn't human at all. They were relics, acting of their own volition. These relics teamed up with power-hungry humans to build an empire that served their own selfish, supernatural agendas. The Majesty exists as the cosmic mediator, the one responsible for the birth and death of all relics, and the maintainer of the natural order. These rogue relics wanted a world without a Majesty to rule over them, so they murdered the previous one to stage a rebellion. But they hit a snag. Without a Majesty, they would lose their power and turn into useless junk, so they kept the previous Majesty's corpse as a battery. They desperately needed that lingering, residual power to keep their own existence stable. In the vacuum left by the Majesty, they began experimenting on humans to artificially manufacture new relics. They callously murdered innocent people, using the relic syndrome as a convenient excuse for their massacres. The bodies of the fallen were smuggled away in the dead of night. They were turned into raw materials for grotesque relic production experiments. Upon discovering this horror, Ju Hian declared an all-out war on Pandora. He broke the internet, broadcasting their darkest secrets to the entire world in a single, devastating move. The news went viral, hitting over 1 million views in an hour as the public turned on Pandora with righteous fury. The streets exploded with protesters demanding justice. The mask had finally slipped, and Pandora was burning. With the old regime in ruins, Ju Hian ascended to the throne as the new, true majesty. The system checks the record, and Ju Hian is just ready to call it a day. Yeah, it's accurate. Can I leave now? He launched Guardian, a new organization dedicated to a world where humans and relics could actually live in harmony. He's been busy holding summits and leading expeditions, though he's clearly bored to tears by the paperwork. He tells the system to handle the rest. Talk about delegating. Suddenly, the system blares, "Error found." Ju Hian is not amused. It turns out he's been skipping 68 summits and entering 239 tombs ahead of his team, mostly for fun. The system demands an immediate correction, and Ju Hian begs it to just let a guy live a little. The system dryly records his plea to let stuff slide. This AI has no sense of humor. Ju Hian calls the eye in the sky an inflexible jerk, which the system promptly logs as well. He gives up and shuts his trap. The history of the year 2025. The year the Earth was invaded by mysterious tombs. Within those silent stone walls laid the relics. And those relics turned the entire planet into a chaotic, adrenaline-fueled playground. Guards scramble, shouting for everyone to catch the intruder before he disappears. Every artifact is tethered to a legend, a myth, or a story pulled straight from the pages of human imagination. A chilling, predatory grin spreads across his face as the battle reaches its breaking point. There's no turning back now. The real hunt begins. With a cold smirk, he unleashes a blinding streak of blue energy to slice through the enemy convoy. The high-speed chase just turned into a lethal battlefield. These items are the echoes of the past, brought to life through the power of the tombs. The guards are losing their minds as he slips into the tomb, desperate to stop him from looting the treasures inside. While the rest of the world saw these tombs as a gateway to hell, Ju Hian saw them as his personal stash. The entrance collapses behind him, blocking the path for his pursuers. Tough luck, boys. After all, he is the majesty, the rightful king of these artifacts. He wanders deeper, wondering what kind of shiny new toy he's going to find in this tomb. He is the majesty, and everything here belongs to him by divine right. He can hardly contain his excitement. He's practically drooling at the potential loot. The massive headquarters towers over the city like a fortress of absolute power. Beneath its sleek, imposing facade, secrets wait to be uncovered. Back at HQ, the meeting continues with the intensity of a high-stakes boardroom brawl. The topic of the day? CO Ju Hian's blatant disregard for protocol and his private relic usage. His team points out the irony. If he's the one setting the rules for tomb entry, shouldn't he at least pretend to follow them? They try to frame his reckless looting as advanced reconnaissance. But everyone in the room knows better. He's measuring the danger level, all right, by emptying the tomb before anyone else can even step foot inside. The staff is fuming, pointing out that he's literally naming his loot caches after himself now. The room erupts in shock at the latest report of his antics. He wonders why no one is answering his calls, completely oblivious to the fact that he's currently ruining their professional lives. When they finally answer, they're in the middle of a summit, and he's completely forgotten it's even happening. He brushes off their complaints, while they scramble to find out exactly which tomb he's currently pillaging. He mentions he's considering a rebrand. King feels a bit small. Maybe Emperor has a better ring to it? He hangs up, headed straight for another tomb, leaving his subordinates to deal with the fallout of his career growth. The meeting continues in despair, with everyone just wanting to move on to the next item on the agenda. Deep inside the tomb, he marvels at the architecture and wonders who the original owner was. A realization hits him. It's Isis, the poisonous Fong of Isis. A lethal, god-grade consumable relic. It's a massive find, but something feels off. He senses a disturbance in the air. A lethal silhouette bursts into the room, cloaked in an aura of dark, smoldering flames. The tension spikes as our hero locks eyes with the deadly intruder. He summons his own SSS-grade relic, the three-legged crow, prepared for a fight. He's disappointed. He was really hoping for a chief god-grade relic like Ra, the sun god. His companion calls him out on his bottomless greed. Ju Hyun defends himself, claiming it's not about greed anymore. He wants to leave a legacy, a hoard of greatness for his child to inherit. The scene shifts, the tone changing from high-octane rating to something much softer. At the hospital, the doctor points out the ultrasound results. The news is official. She's 5 weeks pregnant. Irene Holton, his wife, looks at the screen in pure wonder. She's ecstatic, calling out to him with a radiant smile. She's overwhelmed by the sheer joy of the moment. Ju Hyun is equally moved, finally feeling the weight of the future he fought so hard to protect. They banter about whether it's a boy or a girl, both of them impatient to meet their little one. The date is etched into the record, a moment of peace in a world of war. Back at the office, he's distracted, and his team is ready to throw their clipboards at him. He tries to wax poetic about the mystery of life, but his team just wants him to do his actual paperwork. They remind him that the Majesty can't just loot his way out of professional responsibilities. They order him to finish the book relic classification before he's allowed to go home. He grumbles, but he does it. He insults Zhuge Liang's personality, wondering if the guy is just lonely. He goes back to sorting low-grade trash. He pauses, his eyes catching something unexpected in the pile. The ancient seal shatters under a lethal strike. A sinister greeting marks the beginning of a terrifying encounter. A tidal wave of lethal, shadowy sludge erupts, threatening to consume everything in its path. He's standing right in the eye of the storm. The archives reveal a title, the Majesty. He's been granted the Majesty War qualification, but he's having none of it. The system presents him with a menu of hellish choices. Obedience, massacre, or neglect. Obedience means turning humanity into batteries for relics, a prosperous world built on human sacrifice. Massacre gives him the power to delete his enemies at will, turning the world into his personal playground. Neglect leaves humanity to fend for itself against the disasters, washing his hands of the whole mess. He rejects them all. They're all a massive headache. He tells the voice in his head to shut up, not caring where it came from. He's already proven his worth as the Majesty, and he refuses to play these games. The system contemplates his defiance. It accepts his answer for now. A sinister crimson eye awakens, piercing through the darkness with a malevolent gaze. The nightmare has officially begun. A warning is issued, he's going to regret this refusal. A cold, murderous aura descends as he prepares to unleash his hidden power. There's no turning back now, the slaughter begins. He finds the whole interaction incredibly annoying. He stands his ground, unfazed by the cosmic threats. He clocks out, ready to head home, leaving everyone else to deal with his unfinished work. He arrives at Valhalla Palace, his personal home base. With a chilling aura and absolute composure, he sits in silent defiance. The calm before the storm has arrived. Silence fills the room, broken only by his steady breathing. The tiny toddler charges forward with adorable determination. Will our nonchalant hero be ready for this cute assault? A radiant smile lights up her face as she reaches out with pure, unfiltered joy. Her infectious happiness is enough to melt even the coldest of hearts. He stares down at her, a rare moment of vulnerability flickering in his eyes. The stoic warrior drops his guard, offering a rare, gentle smile to the wide-eyed child. An unexpected bond is blooming in the midst of the chaos. She giggles, calling out for her daddy. He softens, the weight of the world momentarily forgotten. Suddenly, panic sets in. Something is wrong, horribly wrong. He tries to reach out, but the reality begins to tear at the seams. He jolts awake in a cold sweat, haunted by the remnants of a terrifying nightmare. Pure panic consumes him as he gasps for air. The air is thick with tension as he struggles to catch his breath beside her sleeping form. A moment of suffocating intimacy hangs in the dark. He races to the hospital, the fear of the nightmare still gripping his heart. It's not their scheduled day, and the doctor is clearly worried. They perform the scan, but the screen tells an impossible story. Confusion and horror take over the room. The base is empty, it's just gone. The baby has vanished without a trace, defying every law of medicine and logic. Ice-cold intensity radiates from his gaze as he locks onto his next target. The calm before the storm has officially ended. Trapped in a storm of despair, her world shatters into pieces. Tears stream down as she faces an overwhelming, heart-wrenching reality. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The forbidden tome awakens, pulsing with a sinister, otherworldly power. A demonic tale coils around the cursed relic, signaling that chaos is about to be unleashed. He mocks the protagonist, asking if the consequences of their actions have finally set in. There was nothing physically wrong with Irene, yet the child inside her had completely vanished into thin air. It was a truly bizarre and unsettling occurrence. A mysterious voice calls out, demanding the arrival of the thread of Ilethia. An annoyed spirit retorts, tired of being treated like a mere gender detection tool. It's an A-grade relic meant for monitoring the health of a fetus, not for playing doctor. The Majesty brushes off the sass, explaining that they only summoned the relic to check on the child's condition. The relic begrudgingly complies, initiating a target search. The verdict is in, the child is alive, but she has been forcibly relocated to another dimension. She is currently trapped in a state where birth is physically impossible. The Majesty is stunned. Who could have moved her? Even the relic remains clueless. A heavy silence hangs in the air as the city lights flicker outside. The gears of destiny are turning in the dark. The Majesty issues a cold ultimatum. Restore the child within 10 seconds or else. The relic complains about the absurdity of being woken up at such an ungodly hour. The Majesty snaps back, pointing out that they are in the middle of a literal emergency. The relic continues its rant, complaining about being dragged away from its vacation just to handle more paperwork. As the relic tries to wrap its head around the kidnapping, the Majesty loses patience and smacks it into gear. The relic identifies the required items: Morpheus's pillow and the Oneirocritica mini-note. Having scoured the Greek relic section, the protagonist decides to put the pillow to use while Julian handles the dream interpretation. Julian is left wondering exactly how to operate these ancient tools. Morpheus, the god of dreams, is known for breathing visions into the minds of the sleeping to deliver vital messages. This specific pillow relic holds the unique ability to replay dreams the user has experienced in the past. Once the dream is extracted, it's fed into the Oneirocritica, the world's oldest book on dream interpretation. Written by the scholar Artemidorus, this book is the ultimate authority on deciphering the subconscious. They divide the labor. Julian takes the book, and the protagonist takes the pillow. The restoration process is finally complete. With everything in place, the operation begins. Ethereal blue energy surges around the resting hero, signaling a power beyond comprehension. Even in sleep, his awakening aura holds the room in a state of absolute tension. The world trembles as he awakens his true, terrifying power. A cold, calculated gaze hides the storm about to be unleashed. A tender touch bridges the gap between two worlds. In this fleeting moment of warmth, a fragile bond is forged. The dream reveals a haunting message from the child. She shouldn't be born. She cries out a final, desperate plea to be remembered before vanishing. The protagonist is jolted awake by the intensity of the vision. Disaster strikes as the pillow explodes into pieces. All that hard work, gone in a second. He brushes off his injuries, telling the others not to worry about him. He admits he can't see what's coming next, but he refuses to let the mission fail. The team gathers around, desperate to know what the dream revealed. It's the relics. They are the ones actively preventing the child from being born. Why would the relics target an unborn child? The mystery deepens. According to the dream-reading relic, the answer is simple. The unborn child possesses power so overwhelming that the relics have deemed her a threat to the status quo. The relics were so terrified of the dream that they self-destructed upon processing it. This implies that the threat they are facing is at least SS grade. An S grade, or perhaps even a God grade relic. The implications are chilling. The relic quips that, for all that struggle, the protagonist didn't get much useful info, did he? The protagonist nearly explodes with rage, ready to throttle the sassy relic for its attitude. The relic points out that the current crisis is a direct result of the Majesty's indecisive policies. It's time to stop stalling and finally make a choice. The options are laid out: total obedience as a resource, neglect and fend for yourself, or a violent massacre to build a utopia. Since the Majesty is struggling, the relic offers one final, tempting option. Become one of the 12 executors to manage the world lines, trade with relics, and enjoy system-level protection. The balance of these options is clearly rigged. Whoever wrote this contract is a professional scammer. The protagonist smells a trap. These relics are definitely plotting something sinister. He finally makes his decision. The relic is delighted. The choice must have been easy, right? The protagonist ignores the noise and commits to his own path, rejecting their pre-packaged destiny. The relic panics, begging him to reconsider the negotiation option. The protagonist smiles coldly. He's got a nasty temper, so massacre is his weapon of choice. Caught off guard, the relic agrees to grant the massacre buff. It even offers a handy recommendation list of who to delete first. The protagonist demands the deletion of every single relic entity, causing the system to freak out. Relics aren't meant to be deleted, but the protagonist isn't one to follow the rules. The relic is scandalized that the Majesty would dare utter such blasphemy. The protagonist roars that they took his unborn child, and he wants them to pay. He demands their immediate return. He declares them all dead men walking. The relic complains that he's impossible to reason with, so much for a diplomatic solution. Negotiations are officially dead. The system decides to treat his choice as neglect. The shadows loom as a chilling presence descends upon the unsuspecting pair. Tensions skyrocket as they lock eyes with an unseen, encroaching threat. The system threatens that the age of disasters has officially begun. It taunts him, eager to see how he survives without their help. The protagonist suddenly snaps, jumping up and swearing at the air. Was he even paying attention to the threat? His allies are confused, wondering if he's lost his mind in the heat of the moment. Nobody knows what's going on, but the air feels heavy with impending doom. The atmosphere is suffocating as the unknown threat draws closer. A panicked shout echoes through the halls. The captain is needed immediately. The tension skyrockets as the standoff begins. A lethal confrontation is brewing in the silence. Chloe Loron rushes in, breathless and terrified. Something truly terrible has occurred. A sudden chill runs down his spine as he locks eyes with an unexpected threat. He's caught completely off guard. The citizens are acting strangely, like puppets on a string. A fragile connection is forged as he reaches out to the mysterious girl. In this moment of quiet tension, their fates collide. The first sign of the anomaly is the sudden, unexplained appearance of relics in random people's pockets. A civilian is baffled, swearing they've never seen the relic before in their life. They worry it's an act of terrorism. After all, who just leaves potentially dangerous relics in public? They rush to turn it in, hoping to escape the situation before things get even weirder. The lines at the collection center are endless, and people are getting restless as the incidents keep piling up. Guardian headquarters is in a state of absolute chaos. Relics are manifesting out of thin air without even forming tombs. It defies all known logic. Reporting to the Guardians is the smart move, but some greedy fools are already trying to use them. If you're enjoying this recap, Smash that like button and subscribe for more. Worse yet, the eye in the sky system can't even identify these new, mysterious relics. If the system holds data on every relic, how could these possibly be unknown? The system initiates an emergency scan to get to the bottom of it. The result comes back negative. These relics simply do not exist in the database. The captain is alerted. Another major anomaly has just been detected. Future events are accelerating. A relic meant for next month just popped up in a museum today. Reports of future deaths are appearing in real time, causing widespread panic. They are scrambling to verify the reported deaths of world leaders, but the chaos is spreading too fast. The report says the protagonist is scheduled to die on September 18th. He finds the news rather unpleasant. A surge of raw, overwhelming power ripples through the air. Our hero is visibly shaken by the terrifying display. The power grid fails as the system triggers an emergency lockdown. The tension hits a breaking point as he stands alone, radiating an aura of cold, untouchable power. Every eye in the room is locked on him, terrified of his next move. A city-wide blackout plunges everything into darkness. It's go time. What in the world is happening to reality itself? The Colorado Plateau Power Plant core, fueled by the Zeus relic, is going critical. A devastating shockwave of pure energy tears through the facility. Everything in its path is obliterated in a blinding flash of destruction. A blinding bolt of raw energy obliterates the ground in a catastrophic explosion. The sheer force of the impact tears the very earth apart. The Zeus relic has officially gone rogue. Everyone is ordered to evacuate immediately. The entity behind the chaos mocks the fleeing humans, demanding to know where the majesty is hiding. The chief god, Zeus, has arrived, and he is not in a forgiving mood. He swears that this time, he will definitely settle the score with the one who humiliated him. A calm voice cuts through the destruction. Looking for me? The protagonist clears the area, ensuring the survivors get to safety. He mocks Zeus, noting that despite all the trouble, the god looks surprisingly well-rested. He holds up a piece of the relic, taunting Zeus to try and take it back. He reminds the god that he promised to return it only if he behaved. Oops. Guess that didn't happen. Zeus is trembling with rage. He screams at the protagonist to hand it over right now. Our protagonist lunges forward, delivering a devastating strike directly into the face of his massive foe. The shockwave ripples through the air as the sheer power of the impact leaves his enemy reeling. Zeus is left dazed, his divine ego taking a massive hit. A grunt of pain escapes him as he realizes he's outmatched. Zeus tries to invoke his domination power, but it's completely unresponsive. He's stunned. How did the protagonist break his chains? This is the fourth anomaly today. The protagonist chuckles, noting that Zeus is much weaker than anticipated. He's looking forward to this lesson. He apologizes, but he has more than just domination in his arsenal. He has plenty of creative ways to break a god. Turns out, spending spare time researching relics was actually a good idea. Zeus is left stuttering in confusion. A shower of roses marks a dazzling arrival as our hero makes a grand entrance. The scene sparkles with pure, unstoppable charisma. Zeus screams in horror as he feels his divine power being systematically sealed away. The protagonist reveals the secret, Hera's throne, an SS-grade relic that forces people to keep their promises. When it comes to infidelity or family betrayal, the binding efficiency of this relic hits a staggering 1000%. The protagonist needles him about his long history of cheating. Zeus begs him to stop the torture. He's just getting started. He's brought along the relic of Zeus's first wife as well. Métis's wisdom, an SS-grade relic capable of toppling gods, is unleashed. Métis, the goddess of wisdom, was the original architect of Zeus's downfall. Zeus swallowed her whole to prevent a prophecy that their son would surpass him, but he made a fatal mistake. He didn't realize she was pregnant, and she raised the child inside his very body. When the headache became too much to bear, Athena, the goddess of war, burst from his skull fully armed. The relic itself is a nightmare, carrying the weight of that tragic history. The protagonist asks how it feels to have that same history turned against him. A lightning-fast strike shreds the air, shattering the ground with pure, unadulterated force. The impact echoes as his blade carves a path of absolute destruction. He mocks Zeus, telling him to try giving birth to a son through his head this time. A devastating strike crashes down with overwhelming force. The shockwave ripples out as the target is crushed beneath an unstoppable assault. Zeus lets out a pathetic cry, completely beaten. The protagonist muses that it would be a shame to end such a fun match with only one hit. With a devilish smirk, he seizes the artifact that will rewrite his destiny. The game is rigged, and he's holding all the cards. With a bone-shaking impact, the warrior is sent flying as the very ground shatters beneath him. There's no escaping this crushing display of raw, overwhelming power. He scolds Zeus for not just generating electricity like a good battery. Rebellion has a high price. Now, it's time to get back to work. Restoring the world won't do itself. Even if the protagonist enjoyed the beatdown a little too much, the hero vents his frustration, questioning why the Métis relic had to be turned into a gauntlet for a brutal beatdown instead of just being placed on the target's head. He simply replies with a shrug, claiming he just really wanted to see the target get pummeled. The other scolds him to stop talking back and finish the restoration, clearly exhausted by his obsession with beating up Zeus every chance he gets. The hero mutters under his breath, acting like a teenager being told to clean his room for the 100th time. He remarks that his partner is surprisingly merciless when it comes to handling such a valuable relic. The hero grins, insisting that things have to be done this way for it to be any fun at all. He doubles down, arguing that the whole experience would be completely boring otherwise. Even though Zeus's rebellion was officially squashed, some very suspicious loose ends still remain. First, why did the power plant's containment system fail so catastrophically? Second, why was the seal on Zeus broken in the first place? Could a mysterious book relic really possess such world-shattering power? But before they can even ponder these questions, a new anomaly screams for their attention. Out of nowhere, a screen flickers to life, broadcasting a chilling message. Hello! This is today's death statistics news. A voice announces that the executions are about to begin, and the atmosphere turns ice-cold. An ominous red light engulfs the stage as the mysterious figures prepare for a lethal showdown. The tension crackles in the air. Who will fall victim to this deadly trap? A sinister aura erupts as the mysterious beads hover in the air. Reality itself begins to fracture under the weight of this overwhelming power. The screen identifies the culprits. Osiris, the god of fertility, Set, the SS-grade god of destruction, and Anubis, the god of the dead. The crew panics, wondering what on earth these Egyptian legends think they're doing hijacking their airwaves. The chaos spreads as every phone and computer in existence is forced to display the same terrifying broadcast, no matter how hard they try to shut it off. Even the secure systems inside the Guardian headquarters are powerless to stop the transmission from taking over every single screen. It's as if a master hacker has seized control of every machine on the planet. The signal is absolute and inescapable. The panic among the general public is reaching a boiling point. The broadcast takes a darker turn as a voice asks, "Now, shall we take some time to judge those who have sinned?" A terrifying aura erupts as the ancient deity unleashes his overwhelming power. No one can escape his lethal gaze. The screen displays the first victim, a criminal who kidnapped and murdered children, now facing his final hour. The deity mockingly asks the audience, "Do you agree with the death penalty?" The crowd, fueled by fear and bloodlust, screams for his execution. The deity smiles cruelly, declaring the verdict, "Very well, guilty." The execution is swift and brutal, leaving no room for mercy. The viewers are horrified, realizing these gods are actually killing people in real time. Talk about a reality show gone wrong. The screen shifts to the second victim, a man accused of feigning starvation to steal relief supplies. The gods mockingly ask for the audience's verdict again. Some viewers hesitate, thinking the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but the bloodthirsty mob quickly shouts for his death anyway. The second execution is carried out instantly, and the onlookers realize these gods have completely lost their minds. The team at headquarters watches in horror, begging the captain to stop this madness before the entire population is permanently traumatized. A glitchy transmission plays, mixing divine commands with technical errors. The divine summons have arrived, demanding participation in the gods' ruthless games. Will you answer the call or face the consequences? They stare at the number on the screen, wondering if it's just a prank or something far more sinister. Curiosity gets the better of them. They decide that the only way to find out is to pick up the phone. The ground shatters under the sheer weight of his overwhelming pressure. A cataclysmic power surges forth, splitting the very earth beneath his feet. A desperate cry echoes through the chamber as the pressure mounts. Someone takes a direct hit, gasping for air as their defenses crumble. The silence is deafening as the hunter looms over his broken prey. A blood-soaked arena sets the stage for a ruthless execution. The hero realizes his predictions were spot on, though he probably wishes he had been wrong this time. Energy surges as a blade of pure light materializes in his grasp. The weapon is summoned, and the real fight begins now. He stands firm, declaring that this entire pathetic circus is over. He promises that the show ends right here, right now. The gods sneer, mocking the intruder, but they promise the audience that a new executioner is ready to take the stage. They point their fingers at the hero, accusing him of mocking judges and placing himself above the gods. The verdict is immediate and harsh. Guilty. The hero doesn't wait for them to finish. He lunges forward, refusing to play by their rules. With a single, bone-crushing grip, he shatters the barrier into nothingness. Absolute power radiates as defenses crumble beneath his touch. The hero turns the tables, declaring that the gods themselves need to stand trial for their crimes. The beastly warriors are caught completely off guard, paralyzed by a sudden, terrifying revelation. He points to Osiris, charging him with abandonment. The hero delivers the verdict, guilty. He turns to Set, accusing him of baring his fangs at his master, and sentences him to the same fate. Finally, he targets Anubis for his role in the scheme, branding him guilty as well. The gods laugh, asking if he really thinks a few words can stop them from their divine mission. They warn him that the execution cannot be stopped, no matter how hard he struggles. The hero narrows his eyes. He realizes there is something fundamentally wrong with these gods. He readies himself to fight with the intent to crush everything in his path. He pulls out the poisonous Fang of Isis, a legendary SS-grade relic capable of neutralizing opponents in a truly unique way. He recalls the legend of Isis, the goddess of magic, who once used a snake to poison the sun god Ra. She famously promised to heal Ra, but only if he revealed his true, secret name to her. Once she had his name, she passed that power to her son, Horus, to solidify his reign. The enemies laugh, mocking him for trying to fight them with such a tiny knife. A blinding blade erupts with raw, crackling energy. The air shatters as a lethal strike is unleashed. The beast lets out a blood-curdling roar as mysterious, glowing runes erupt right in its face. Total shock takes over as an unexpected power surge catches the monster off guard. The hero stares down Set, whispering the name Ek, and asking if that is his true, vulnerable name. As the name is spoken, the god's power begins to fade. The name no longer holds any authority here. The gods are stunned, realizing their secret identities are being ripped away from them. The hero shifts his gaze to Osiris, promising him he is next. He calls out Asar, the king of the dead, noting that it wasn't exactly a well-kept secret. A brutal strike pierces through his chest. He screams in agony as the explosive energy tears him apart. A final, agonized whimper escapes his lips as his form begins to dissipate. The hero turns to the last one, calling out Inpu, the ruler of the grave. He remarks that it's a grand name, even if it won't save him from what's coming. With a single lethal strike, he slices through the enemy in a blur of motion. The battlefield erupts as his razor-sharp blade tears through the opposition. His partner complains about the mess, grumbling that he's tired of having to restore the relics after the hero destroys them. A single, lethal strike slices through the air, decapitating the target in a flash of blue energy. The head drifts away as the fight ends in a gruesome instant. Total shock hits the masked duo as their plan goes completely off the rails. Their expressions say it all. They never saw this coming. The hero glares at the imposter who dared to wear his subordinate's face. He declares the fake guilty, while the imposter just laughs with a chilling, hollow sound. The hero expected this all along. He knew they were just decoys. Turns out every single one of them was a fake. The hero can't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. He admits that he recognized them as fakes the moment they appeared. Suddenly, he pauses, realizing there's another Uj Ha hiding in the shadows. The shell of the imposter starts to crack, revealing his true colors. The hero realizes this isn't the real Uj Ha. The vibe is completely off. He demands to know what the fake is doing, furious that someone would kidnap his subordinate and set up these puppets. The imposter smirks, revealing that he isn't the Uj Ha the hero knows and trusts. The hero's eyes widen as the realization finally hits him. He demands to know when the imposter stole his identity and his power. Total shock paralyzes his senses as the realization hits home. He stares in absolute disbelief, his world crumbling before his very eyes. The stranger mocks him, claiming he isn't the only majesty in existence. The hero demands to know exactly who this imposter thinks he is. The mastermind makes his move, adjusting his glasses with a chilling, calculated smirk. The tension in the air is palpable as he prepares to strike. A sudden chill strikes the group as they freeze in pure, wide-eyed shock. Whatever they just witnessed has left them completely rattled. The hero asks if he's looking at a doppelganger, because the resemblance is uncanny. The imposter scoffs, insulted that the hero thinks their auras are remotely similar. He introduces himself as a majesty from another timeline, claiming he stood at the pinnacle of his own world. The hero isn't impressed, reminding him that in this timeline, their captain is the only king who matters. The imposter laughs, mocking the hero for not realizing that his own world is already on the verge of total collapse. With a sickening thud, the artifact hits the ground. The sands of time are shattered, sealing their fate. The hero realizes those Egyptian relics were far more dangerous than he ever anticipated. The stranger claims he should be grateful that he secured the relics before their seals could be broken by fools. The hero retorts, asking if he's the one who unleashed Zeus, too. The stranger admits it was a frustrating move, but he was actually the one trying to prevent the full-scale disaster. He warns that if a god-grade relic goes rogue, the world is finished, just like the one he came from. He eyes the current timeline with a greedy look, noting how well-developed it is with all its relics and humans. He says it would be a shame to see it destroyed, while the hero asks him to quit rambling and explain the threat. The stranger explains that god-grade relics are roaming across dimensions, actively destroying worlds. He has a sinking suspicion about who might be behind this cosmic purge. He reveals the Majesty's Cradle, an SSS-rank treasure that is the only one of its kind across every dimension. He searched for it everywhere, never expecting to find it in this specific timeline. He taunts the hero, asking how they can be so peaceful when other worlds are currently burning to ash. The hero defends himself, stating he was simply protecting the king who passed his trial. The stranger explains the origin of the relic creator, the first blacksmith who forged human stories into tools. When those stories, born from worship, began to look down on humanity, the blacksmith fought back, forging them into relics to restore order. However, some stories refused to be controlled and shed their relic forms to return to their original ego-driven states. Now they are back, seeking to reign over humanity once again. It's clear to them now that these certain gods, leading the rebellion, are all god-grade threats. The hero connects the dots. Are these the gods of the 4 major civilizations? The stranger confirms it. They've been hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The hero realizes why his tomb-raiding missions felt so strange. He was searching for things that weren't even there yet. The stranger laughs at the hero's hobby, revealing it was a wild goose chase from the very start. The gods have been busy jumping between dimensions, reaching into every world to sow chaos. Their goal is absolute, the total destruction or enslavement of every single timeline. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Caught off guard, these two can't hide their shock at the sudden revelation. The hero asks the hard question. Did they manage to destroy his world? 2. The answer is a haunting, silent yes. A brief moment of heavy silence hangs in the air. Suddenly, the alarms go off. What is happening now? The elevator doors slide open to reveal a scene of sheer panic. Our protagonist steps into the chaos, ready to face the danger head-on. The limit has been shattered, and his cold, piercing gaze spells absolute disaster. Silence is broken as his true killing intent finally explodes. Someone in the background screams, "Holy shit! What is that?" The enemy mocks the hero, calling him a rat-like majesty. They taunt him, saying it's useless to flee to this timeline. There is nowhere left to run. They promise that this world, too, will eventually be purified by their hands. The hero curses under his breath, realizing the relics of the 4 civilizations have finally caught up to him. He summons the Akashic Record, an SSS-rank treasure, desperate to identify their traits and weaknesses. The system returns a terrifying result. I am sorry, they cannot be found. They exist outside the rules of this world, making them invisible to his scans. Since they don't belong here, the hero realizes they have to fight blindly against an enemy they can't even track. A voice from the void speaks up, mocking the hero as if they've met 187,487 times before. The first curse is initiated, and the ground begins to warp. The hero screams a warning. The 4 civilizations are using the book to unravel the timeline itself. The air turns ice cold as his pupils dilate in pure, unfiltered shock. Something just broke his composure wide open. He stammers, struggling to comprehend the horrifying truth of what he's just heard. The voice laughs, promising that by the time he truly understands, it will already be far too late. The tower shakes, and the world begins to slip back into the cold, dark silence that existed before civilization ever began. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The Tower of Babel's curse descends, severing the threads of human connection and plunging the world into a deafening silence. The world watches in sheer panic. Is this really happening on a global scale? The earth screams as colossal towers erupt from the ground, signaling the start of a desperate fight for survival. Communication is dead in the water, and the world is spiraling into a total disaster. Think of the chaos, hospitals in mid-surgery and entire nations suddenly cut off from their leaders. And don't forget the air traffic controllers. Without guidance, planes are nothing but flying coffins waiting to fall from the sky. Catastrophe is imminent, and there's nowhere to hide. Desperate for a solution, he screams for Ilya to freeze time. Ilya tries, but the curse hits him like a brick wall. Classic bad timing. Silence isn't just golden. It's deadly, and the language blockade is now in full effect. Language might be fried, but relics still work. Thank goodness for small miracles. He isn't going down without a fight, brandishing Shakespeare's childhood pen like a weapon. Words fail, but force doesn't. Ilya triggers a relic to stop time for the world, leaving only their team moving in the stillness. The air shudders with raw, surging power as he unleashes his hidden potential, ready to wreck anyone standing in his way. He calls out to Furcas. The world stands still, a frozen statue in time. Mana erupts, and mystical birds take to the sky, turning the battlefield into a supernatural storm. Reality cracks under the pressure of this cosmic force. There's no running from this collapse. A monstrous shadow tears through the clouds, turning the flock into a panicked mess. Gravity gives up on the plane, sending everyone into a floating, high-altitude nightmare. Everything comes to a dead halt. A spectral dove shatters the silence, bending the very fabric of reality. He's frozen solid, staring into the abyss of his own inevitable end. Debris rains down from the heavens, and a mysterious grimoire seals the fate of those stuck on the roof. For now, everyone but our heroes is trapped in the stasis. It's a stroke of genius. Who would have thought they'd bypass the end of the world like this? The book guy is still moving. Talk about a buzzkill. He's impressed, but warns that the real pain is only just beginning. The curse of Vishvakarman is here, and it's coming for every tool in existence. The countdown to total technological collapse begins. Another blue tower? This guy really loves his color-coded apocalypses. He senses a shift in the air. The next trap is already closing in. A chilling sensation crawls up his spine. What is this? The atmosphere grows heavy and suffocating. He gasps, clutching his chest as he realizes the magnitude of the threat. Language and tools, the twin pillars of human evolution, are being systematically dismantled. The villain plans to strip humanity of its progress, piece by piece. The curse goes live, turning every man-made machine and relic into useless junk. Named after the legendary god of craftsmanship, this curse is a masterclass in destruction. If Vishvakarman built it, this curse is here to break it. This is even worse than the first one. Once time restarts, civilization is toast. Without tools, the world is heading straight back to the Stone Age. He has to ask, are the relics really included in this wreckage? The book-headed menace mocks him. Tools are tools, after all. He's not falling for the scam, but the pressure is crushing. The relics are flickering, losing their luster. A reminder of where they all came from is in order. Words are axes, and stories are the sharp blades that carve through the ages. True records are the only things that refuse to die. Relics built on memory and story are the only things that can slip through the cracks of this curse. He calls out the fraud. Trying to sneak the relics into the curse is a low blow. The enemy growls, clearly annoyed by the pushback. Fine, he concedes, anything not made by human hands gets a pass. He roars in frustration, his internal temperature skyrocketing as the pressure builds. He moves with blinding speed, leaving the world behind as he charges into the heart of the chaos. Solomon's earrings, the S-rank relic, are ready for action. It works. They can talk again thanks to the loophole. Ilya gets the command. Burn it all to the ground. The ruler of flames, Phlegethon, is summoned to the battlefield. Hellfire erupts from the forge, threatening to reduce everything to ash. The enemy is shocked. He didn't expect them to survive the second curse. A mere book, and yet it tanks a hellfire attack? Ilya's relic is practically divine. The villain isn't done. There are 2 more curses waiting in the wings. 4 curses in total. Let's see if the Majesty can actually stop them all. If they succeed, the timeline might just survive. The collapse of the world line is the enemy's ultimate goal. No time to celebrate. On to the next disaster. The curse of the Nile, the blockade of records, is now active. Let's look back at how we got here. He managed to protect the use of relics even while the second curse raged. But can they handle the weight of erased history? The question hangs in the air. Can they still use their relics when they can't remember them? The curse erases the records of the relic's creation, leaving everyone clueless. Memories are vanishing, names are fading, everything is slipping away. He struggles to recall his own identity. The raid on their minds is complete. It's hard to watch. The devastation of the mind is the cruelest part. Only the Majesties remain standing, as they are beings who refuse to forget. The gods of the 4 civilizations used the rulebook to tear worlds apart. He's seen this play out before, humans turning into fools and destroying themselves. The design for extinction is perfect, almost disturbingly so. So that was the master plan all along. Babel, Vishvakarman, and now the Nile, all tied to the great mythologies. India's mythology was the second pillar of this nightmare. And now, Egyptian mythology takes the stage with the Nile's curse. Is that Ra, the sun god, lurking in the shadows? If Isis has a relic, it should be the perfect counter to Ra. The villain cries out, "That's cheating." Cheating? In a fight for existence? Please, He screams, trying to stop the inevitable from happening. He isn't holding back now. He's taking the fight right to the source. It's over for the illusion of power. The ancient structure shatters, its foundation crumbling as raw power rips reality apart. The curse of the Nile is broken, and Ra's power is scattered to the winds. The records are finally beginning to flow back. What's going on? The confusion is palpable. Everything is starting to make sense again. It all comes rushing back. He finally remembers how to use the relic. The villain is looking a little pale. Maybe he should have brought a backup plan. He stands defiant, glowing sigils lighting up the sky as the final act approaches. Seo Ju-hyun is back in the game. His opponent can't help but be impressed by his tenacity. Are the memories truly returning? The world is starting to stabilize, but it's far from safe. He gasps, the weight of the devastation hitting him all at once. He calls out for the heavenly rope. His loyal relic answers the call, rushing to his side. Where were you? He was suffocating under that strange aura. Being made of a story has its downsides when the rulebook starts deleting chapters. No one has ever survived this many curses before. Not bad, right? He's feeling pretty good about his survival rate. The enemy is livid. How are these humans still standing after all that? He admits the majesty is impressive. It's no wonder they wanted him on their side. But the recruitment phase is definitely over. If they still have hope, he's going to crush it personally. Fushi's curse is activated, the denial of hope. Fushi, the one who taught humans writing and gave them the future, is now the harbinger of despair, turning the gift of prophecy into a curse that steals the future dark, even for a god. It sounds abstract, but it's the most lethal weapon in the villain's arsenal. Look at the world, without communication or tools, chaos is the only thing left. In a world of relics, what is hope if not the person wielding them? Without the majesty, the relics are just expensive paperweights. He's spot on, and that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. He is the hope of this world, the final pillar holding it all together. If he falls, the world falls with him. The villain sets his sights on the ultimate target. He is going to eliminate the source of their hope. As if a glorified paper pusher could actually pull that off. Time grinds to a halt. Everything goes silent. The narrative of the end triggers, aiming to close the book on humanity for good. It's time to extract the heart of the majesty. His story is over, and the villain is here to collect the dues. A canister ruptures, spraying volatile death across the room. A single strike, a flash of destruction, and the monster is torn apart, or so he thinks. He coughs, struggling to understand what just happened. His team jumps in to protect him, barely avoiding a lethal blow. This is officially the most annoying fight of his life. He's done playing nice. The gloves are coming off. Needle-like tendrils lash out, lethal and faster than the eye can follow. Cold sweat, wide eyes. He realizes he's made a fatal miscalculation. A shadowy claw pierces through him, and blood sprays as the hero is skewered. The team screams out for Captain Seo Ju-hyun. He gasps, the pain washing over him in a wave of crimson. The whip-like appendage leaves no room for mercy, tearing through the air. The villain smiles. This is exactly how it's supposed to end. He finds the sight of the hero's defeat absolutely beautiful. A relief, really. Those tricks were becoming a massive headache. The team rushes over, begging him to wake up. They need a healing relic, and they need it yesterday. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Bring Chloe in, hurry. The mysterious entity mocks the protagonist, questioning if he truly believes he can protect a timeline without a majesty. He reveals that the disaster is far from over, warning that trials will continue to plague this world as a twisted game. The hero screams in defiance, refusing to forgive the entity for his cruel games. The game master gloats, explaining that trials bring rewards while failure brings penalties. He's the master, and the hero is just a pawn. A sudden, violent outburst erupts. Chaos ensues as the hero lashes out in a frantic panic, demanding to know what is happening. The entity quickly shifts tactics, desperately promising a perk if even one of the 4 disasters is blocked. The hero demands to know exactly what this mysterious perk is. A guttural roar of frustration echoes through the void. The entity begrudgingly admits that despite the hero's cheap tricks, he successfully blocked 3 disasters, earning him 3 perks, a total steal. He continues to rant, but eventually caves to the pressure, promising to resolve and purge the Blue Tower entirely. The entity throws a tantrum, claiming it's impossible to talk to these people before deciding to make a swift exit. The hero stares in shock as his enemy vanishes into thin air. A colossal, world-shattering energy vortex tears through the sky. The apocalypse has arrived, and there's nowhere left to hide. A new arrival bursts onto the scene, shouting for a medical relic captain. The subordinate cries out for his master in distress. The very fabric of reality shatters as a dark angel descends to deliver a crushing blow. With his companion fallen, our hero stands stunned as the sky itself begins to fracture. The barrier shatters into fragments as he unleashes a desperate, explosive surge of power. Caught off guard, he stares in pure shock as his defense crumbles before him. The captain is stunned. Is that really his subordinate standing there like a ghost? He realizes with a sinking heart that the person on the ground is someone else entirely. It's you, Jae-ha. The captain explodes with rage, demanding to know who dared to lay a finger on his subordinate. The stranger scoffs, acting as if he deserves gratitude for saving the captain's life. The captain calls him a bookhead, insisting he could have handled the situation perfectly well on his own. The stranger laughs, pointing out that the captain couldn't even summon his relics correctly. A single, devastating strike tears through the darkness with explosive force. The enemy is obliterated in a flash of raw power. With a savage grin, he lunges forward to deliver a crushing blow. The battlefield trembles as he unleashes his raw power. The tension spikes as a mysterious, glowing strike catches our hero completely off guard. He's left wide-eyed and reeling from the sudden, overwhelming power. Coughing and gasping, the hero struggles to understand what just happened. A savage, toothy grin tears across his face as he unleashes pure, unadulterated chaos. The momentum is unstoppable. Total destruction is imminent. The cold, calculating strategist strikes without mercy, seizing his target in a blinding display of power. Terror grips his victim as the inescapable hand of judgment descends. The hero confronts him, realizing the stranger sacrificed the subordinate's heart to save him. What a great friend. The stranger defends his actions, claiming the rulebook left him no choice if he wanted to deceive the enemy. He offers a bizarre consolation. The subordinate isn't actually dead yet. The ultimate weapon is unsheathed, and it's a piping hot cup of noodles. A single choice changes everything. Apparently, the subordinate's soul is now trapped inside a cup of noodles. Seriously? The captain is absolutely livid. What kind of ridiculous, soul-trapping lie is this? A scream of pure indignation tears through the air. The voice of the trapped subordinate shrieks from the cup, demanding to know how he became a snack. He is beyond insulted that someone would dare treat a human like a meal. The captain sighs in relief. As long as he's this talkative, he's definitely still Yu Jae-ha. But there is one major issue. The captain is furious that the soul was trapped in a mild-flavored noodle cup. Who chooses mild over spicy? Talk about a crime against taste buds. The creator insists it's a God-grade consumable relic, but the victim is just traumatized by his new, noodle-y existence. The captain examines the body, shocked that his subordinate is still alive despite missing a heart. It appears his body's time has been frozen, raising the question of whether he can truly be saved. They conclude that the only path forward is to retrieve his heart. The stranger points out that this is the perfect chance to counterattack the 4 major civilizations while they think the hero is dead. He notes that the hero is uniquely special, as most worlds have already sold their souls to the relics. He's traveled to many worlds, but he's never seen a freak of nature quite like the hero. He recounts the hero's feats, avoiding Vishvakarma and breaking Ra's curse with a poisonous fong. He urges the hero to step up and dominate the relics to end the disaster once and for all. A moment of heavy silence hangs in the air. He repeats the call to action, emphasizing that only the hero can save them now. The gravity of the situation settles in. He drops the ultimate trump card. They have his daughter. If they crush the enemy, he can finally get his daughter back. In a sudden, desperate embrace, he pulls her close as if to shield her from the world. The tension is palpable as his eyes betray a terrifying, unspoken resolve. The air turns ice-cold as his piercing gaze locks onto the target. Silence falls, but the tension is about to snap. He reveals the enemy's location. They are hiding within Amaterasu's space. The name echoes. Amaterasu? He explains that the goddess successfully hid herself to avoid being turned into a relic. Now, that very space serves as the secret hideout for the 4 major civilizations. He recounts the myth. When Susanoo went on a rampage, the sun goddess hid in a cave in pure anger. As darkness consumed the world, the gods had to dance and feast just to lure her back out. She was so good at hiding that she even avoided the relicization curse. The 4 major civilizations are using that same space to launch their rulebooks and ruin world lines. And for any majesty who refuses to fall in line, they simply rip out their heart. Talk about a hostile corporate takeover. The captain asks why they would go to such lengths for a heart. The heart is the axis of the world line and the core of its existence. They are known as the ruler's heart. The enemies want to collect them to reverse their own relicization curse. They aim to rewrite the fundamental rules of the universe to suit their own desires. The hero questions if such a feat is even possible. If enough hearts are gathered, they could rewrite the supreme laws of reality itself. The hero realizes he has no choice. He's coming for them to save his subordinate. He vows to invade their hideout, destroy everything, and reclaim his daughter and his friend. They prepare to leave, with the stranger offering a dimensional travel relic and a way to track the rulebook's energy. That's convenient, but there's a catch. The hero insists on stabilizing his own world before he can depart. If time starts flowing again without preparation, technology will fail and chaos will reign. They plan to use flight relics to ground the planes while time is still frozen. They also need to copy the translation relic to solve the communication breakdown. The hero looks around, wondering who else could possibly handle such a large-scale task. He turns his gaze toward the stranger. It's time to get to work. The golden trumpets blare with divine force, signaling the start of a legendary showdown. The stage is set for an epic clash. An ominous sound fills the air, drawing everyone's attention to the horizon. A blinding flash of divine power erupts as the angelic trumpets herald a cataclysmic arrival. The sky shatters under the weight of an overwhelming godly force. The enemy has arrived, declaring this world an empty husk since it lost its majesty. The subjection scenario begins. It's an invasion. The crowd looks up in sheer terror. It's the Arc de Triomphe, a god-grade invasion relic that grows stronger with every record it crushes. The invaders explain the rules. When a majesty dies, the world is fair game for looting. The rule book leaked the location, making this a very efficient and very annoying invasion. Gungnir is unsheathed, ready to pierce the heavens. The invader is hyped, eager to stab the world and claim his victory. Something goes wrong. The invasion is blocked by the hero's majesty trait. An awakening is required to proceed. The hero steps up, testing his own voice for the declaration of conquest. He looks at the world, ready to stake his claim. With a heavy, decisive step, the legend descends to dominate the battlefield. The air itself trembles as he makes his grand entrance. He declares that this world will now be ruled by Majesty Mars O'Connell. He checks the rulebook, shocked to see that 2 curses have already been resolved. Who could be that talented? He realizes someone has frozen time and prepares to undo it. The remove all status effects perk is activated, hitting the entire world at once. The sky erupts in chaos as feathers fly, and the birds scatter in a frantic panic. Something unseen has just shattered their peaceful flight. A chorus of screams rings out across the city. A devastating shockwave tears through the ground, sending the terrified men scrambling for their lives. Panic erupts as the earth shatters beneath them. Time is flowing again. The team panics and calls for their summoned monster, Bashan. The hero reminds them that the communication problem is still a ticking time bomb. The invader actually likes the sound of that. Why would he think that? If people die, their relic contracts break, allowing him to loot them. What a charming fellow. The hero sighs, confirming that this guy's personality is as rotten as his methods. He realizes the rule book left a special perk for him as well. He finds it, shouting in excitement. A mini rule book, SSS grade. The perks are revealed. Absolute decree for victory, future regression for time saving, and setting alteration for cheating the rules. It's a game changer of legendary proportions. If he uses these correctly, he might just pull off the impossible. A garbled, glitchy sound effect fills the air as the systems struggle to keep up. With time flowing again, the hero prepares to go shopping for some new relics. The air ignites as he unleashes a cataclysmic surge of crimson power. The battlefield trembles before his overwhelming dominance. He commands the residents to find and plunder relics, claiming they are all his slaves now. The crowd cheers for the new emperor, scrambling to find relics to offer up. Everyone wonders if this is truly the power of the Arc de Triomphe. The captain reports that the planes are moving, but with no control tower, they're heading for disaster. Collisions are imminent in just 397 seconds. He has to act fast. He turns to the stranger, ordering him to make a relic. The stranger is baffled, but the hero knows exactly what he's capable of. He reminds the stranger that he is a master of relic creation. He's done his homework on the stranger's abilities. He knows about the execution stage and the perfect copies of God-grade relics. If he could fool the rule book with a fake heart, he can definitely make whatever is needed now. He reminds the stranger that he's responsible for the chaos and the noodlification of his subordinate. There's no running away from this. The stranger admits he can't just spawn anything. He needs a story to base it on. The hero hands him the solution. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, the story of the Tower of Babel. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. They're going to use the curse of Babel in reverse to fix the language barrier.